At the beginning of his life, nobody thought Napoleon Bonaparte would become one of the most powerful men in history. He was born on a small island in the Mediterranean called Corsica. He was not born a king. He did not inherit a throne. He was not surrounded by wealth and power. He was just a young boy from a family with little influence. But from a very early age, Napoleon was different. He was ambitious, he was intelligent, and he believed that his future could be much bigger than his past. When he was sent to military school in France, he was often mocked because of his Corsican accent and his background. But instead of giving up, he studied. He learned mathematics. He studied history. He analyzed the greatest generals of the past. While others saw only an ordinary young officer, Napoleon was building himself into something much greater. Then, France entered one of the most chaotic periods in its history. The French Revolution destroyed the old system. Kings lost their power. The country was surrounded by enemies. Europe's greatest kingdoms wanted to crush France before the revolution could spread. And in this chaos, a young military officer saw his opportunity. His name was Napoleon Bonaparte. In 1793, Napoleon helped French forces capture the city of Toulon from enemy control. His brilliant strategy impressed his commanders. Suddenly, the unknown officer was no longer invisible. People started noticing him. His career began rising faster than anyone expected. But Napoleon did not want to simply be a good soldier. He wanted greatness. In 1796, Napoleon was given command of the French army in Italy. Many people thought this army was weak. The soldiers were hungry. They lacked supplies. They had little hope. But Napoleon gave them something they were missing, a reason to believe. He told his soldiers they were not fighting for survival. They were fighting for glory. And then he shocked Europe. Napoleon defeated army after army. His enemies were larger. They had more resources. But Napoleon was faster, smarter, and more unpredictable. His victories made him famous. The young general who nobody respected became a legend. But Napoleon wanted more. He wanted France to become the strongest power in Europe. In 1799, he took control of France. A few years later, he crowned himself emperor. A man who was once a simple officer was now sitting on the highest throne in France. Europe was watching, and Europe was afraid. Napoleon created one of the greatest armies the world had ever seen, the Grande Armée. His soldiers followed him because they believed he could lead them to victory. And again, he proved them right. At the Battle of Austerlitz, Napoleon faced two powerful European armies. He was outnumbered, but his strategy was brilliant. He tricked his enemies into attacking where he wanted them to. Then he destroyed their forces. The victory became one of his greatest achievements. Napoleon seemed unstoppable. One country after another was defeated. His influence spread across Europe. Kings feared him. Enemies respected him. For a moment, it looked like Napoleon could truly control the continent. But every empire has a weakness. And Napoleon's greatest mistake came when he turned his eyes toward Russia. In 1812, Napoleon invaded Russia with a massive army. He expected a quick victory. But Russia refused to fight the way Napoleon wanted. Instead of facing him directly, Russian forces retreated. They destroyed supplies along the way, leaving the French army with fewer resources. Then came the cold. The freezing Russian winter. Thousands of soldiers suffered from hunger, exhaustion, and the brutal weather. The army that entered Russia as a symbol of power left as a disaster. Napoleon had lost hundreds of thousands of men. And for the first time, Europe saw that he could be defeated. His enemies united against him. In 1814, Napoleon was forced to give up his throne. He was sent into exile on the island of Elba. But Napoleon was not finished. After less than a year, he escaped. He returned to France. And something incredible happened. The soldiers sent to capture him did not attack. They joined him. Napoleon had returned. This period became known as the 100 Days. But his final chance for power would end at the Battle of Waterloo. In 1815, Napoleon faced a coalition of European armies. This time, his enemies were ready. The battle was brutal. The French army fought hard. But eventually, Napoleon was defeated. His dream of ruling Europe was over. He was sent far away to the island of St. Helena, where he would spend the rest of his life. Napoleon Bonaparte died in 1821. But his story never disappeared. Some remember him as a military genius, a man who changed warfare forever. Others remember the destruction caused by his endless wars. But no one can deny one thing. Napoleon was a man who changed history. He started as a boy from a small island and became the man who made Europe tremble. His empire fell, but his name became immortal.